Hey everyone! Welcome to Update X24H, your go-to channel for the latest news, hottest dramas, breaking stories, and all the buzz from the world of entertainment. We're here to keep you updated, entertained, and always in the loop. Hit that subscribe button and join our growing family, because here at Update X24H, we bring you the news that matters, the drama you love, and the stories you can't miss. Thanks for being part of our community. Let's stay connected, stay updated, and keep the good vibes rolling. What happens when one of Asia's most private heartthrobs finally opens up about the one thing he finds most captivating in his co-star? It wasn't scripted. It wasn't rehearsed. But Yongyang's heartfelt confession about Dilraba Dilmurat sent millions of fans into a frenzy. Why? Because for the first time he allowed us to see beyond the screen and into something deeply real. The moment came during a relaxed interview that was never meant to go viral. But when the interviewer casually asked Yang which part of Dilraba's appearance he found most attractive, everything changed. He paused, smiled, rubbed the bridge of his nose like someone holding in a secret, and then said, "Her eyes." That's it. Just 2 words. Yet the internet exploded. In the midst of a light-hearted interview, where laughter and casual conversation filled the air, a moment of unexpected intimacy unfolded. When Yang was asked which part of Dilraba Dilmurat's appearance he found most attractive, there was a noticeable shift in his demeanor. His usually composed expression softened. He paused, gave a faint smile, and replied with quiet sincerity, "Her eyes." At first glance, it might seem like a simple compliment, the kind of answer celebrities give to keep things neutral. But what followed told a different story. Yang continued, describing how Dilraba's eyes had a certain power, not just in beauty, but in emotional resonance. "Her gaze," he said, "can be deep and meaningful but also warm and sweet. When she looks at me during filming, I sometimes forget my lines." There was something disarming about that confession. Not rehearsed, not polished, just real. His words revealed a moment of vulnerability, rare for someone as private and reserved as Yang. It wasn't just about physical admiration, it was about the connection he felt, however fleeting, through her eyes. It was in the way she looked at him that he saw not just a co-star, but something more human, more emotionally present. In the world of acting, where emotions are often performed, and intimacy is part of the script, the line between performance and authenticity is easily blurred. But in that moment, Yang's admission seemed to pierce through that blur. It resonated with fans because it felt genuine, like a glimpse behind the curtain, a rare truth in an industry built on illusion. What made this even more meaningful was how fans responded. They began revisiting scenes from their past dramas, searching for traces of that same sincerity in his eyes. And they found it, moments where his gaze lingered just a little too long, where his smile wasn't part of the scene, but something he forgot to hide. His compliment was never just about beauty. It was about presence, connection, and something that perhaps he himself didn't entirely expect. In a single moment, with a few quiet words, Yang reminded the world that sometimes, the most powerful emotions are spoken not through dialogue, but through the eyes, and that's where the real story begins. During a separate promotional event, surrounded by flashing cameras and a wave of press attention, Dilraba Dilmurat was asked a question that, at first glance, seemed playful. A reporter leaned in and smiled. "What do you think about Yang saying that your eyes are the part of you he likes most?" There was a pause. Just a beat. And in that short silence, something warm unfolded. Dilraba's expression softened, and she let out a light laugh, the kind that carries a quiet sincerity. Then she glanced down for a moment, as if to gather herself, before lifting her eyes again and simply saying, "That's so sweet. I like his eyes too." It wasn't just the words that mattered. It was the tone, the hesitation, the softness in her voice. For a celebrity often poised and polished in front of the press, that subtle, almost instinctive vulnerability told its own story. It was a reaction that didn't feel rehearsed. It felt personal, like an acknowledgement of something unspoken between them, and perhaps even something not yet fully understood by themselves. The public immediately responded, not just because of what she said, but because of how she said it. Her body language spoke volumes. The downward glance, the smile that seemed to bloom from somewhere deep, and the understated warmth in her reply. It wasn't dramatic or theatrical. It was intimate, the kind of moment that felt more like a conversation between hearts than between public figures. Fans across platforms began replaying that clip, not for gossip, but because it stirred something quiet and universal. That feeling of being seen, of being appreciated for something beyond appearance. Her response mirrored Yongyang's in tone and weight, as if they were speaking in a language only they truly understood, where glances carried more than rehearsed lines, and a simple compliment held the weight of possible affection. In a world that demands celebrities to guard their emotions, Dilraba's honest, delicate reaction felt like a small rebellion against pretense. It hinted at authenticity in the most subtle of ways. And just like that, in one sentence and one gaze, she kept the story alive. Not with grand declarations, but with a truth so gentle, it made hearts around the world quietly ache for more. The moment Yongyang confessed his admiration for Dilraba's eyes, and she responded with gentle affection, it was as if a spark had been lit across the hearts of fans worldwide. What began as a simple interview exchange soon turned into a wave of emotional resonance that swept through social media. Fans didn't just react, they connected deeply and personally with what they had witnessed. Across platforms, the response was immediate and powerful. Clips of the moment were replayed millions of times, often slowed down, not for sensationalism, but to savor each subtle expression. The way Yongyang smiled before speaking, or how Dilraba's eyes softened as she responded. Fans weren't just watching celebrities interact. They were witnessing something genuine, something that reminded them of quiet moments in their own lives, of crushes unspoken, or emotions tenderly revealed without needing grand gestures. What made this particular exchange so impactful was not the glamour of stardom, but its unexpected intimacy. Fans across different cultures from Seoul to Paris, from Jakarta to Los Angeles, found themselves drawn not just to the story, but to the humanity behind it. They began sharing their own reflections, how a single glance or a quiet compliment had once changed their day, or how rare it is to see such sincerity in the entertainment industry. In countless languages, people express one shared sentiment. This felt real. Many turned to creativity as a way to process what they felt. Edits flooded TikTok and Instagram, pairing the duo's on-screen chemistry with soft music and poetic captions. Some created artwork, sketches of the moment their eyes met, or short fan-written stories imagining what might lie behind those glances. These weren't just the actions of idolizing fans. They were acts of emotional investment, born from a place of hope and longing. But perhaps most touching was the silence that followed the laughter, the lingering stillness of viewers replaying the clip and simply feeling something stir. In a world often rushed and loud, Yang and Dilraba offered a pause, a breath, a whisper of connection that needed no explanation. What fans truly responded to was not just the idea of a romance. It was the reminder that even under the spotlight, two people could share something honest, and in doing so bring strangers across the globe a little closer to feeling seen themselves. In the fast-moving world of celebrity, where headlines often blur into one another and interviews become rehearsed performances, it is rare to stumble upon a moment that feels truly unscripted, genuine, almost fragile in its sincerity. That is what made Yongyang's quiet confession about Dilraba's eyes, and her gentle response so powerful. It was not just a fleeting headline or a playful exchange. It was a moment that allowed the world to witness something more enduring, something quietly human behind all the perfection. What made this moment matter wasn't the spectacle, but the subtlety. It was in the hesitation before the words, in the softness of their voices, in the way their eyes revealed what language couldn't. In an era where so much is curated for attention, here was something that didn't ask to be viral. It simply became so because it touched something universal. The unspoken tenderness between them, whether romantic or simply rooted in deep mutual respect, reminded audiences that behind the screens and spotlights, stars are still people, vulnerable to connection just like anyone else. For many fans, especially those who have followed their journey through dramas and public appearances, this wasn't just gossip. It was a continuation of a story they've quietly rooted for. A story where beauty and chemistry meet warmth and trust. In a time when authenticity feels like a luxury, Yang and Dilraba offered a glimpse of something that didn't feel polished or performed, but real, gently, beautifully real. And beyond the idea of romance, the moment matters because it offered something deeper. The kind of emotional honesty that connects people across cultures. Whether you're watching from Tokyo or Toronto, Seoul or Sydney, This exchange made you feel something. It was about admiration expressed without fear, affection given without demand. It spoke to a kind of emotional maturity that's increasingly rare, especially in public figures. In the end, this wasn't just about a man praising a woman's eyes. It was about how, in just a few quiet words, two people reminded the world of the power of sincerity, and how sometimes the smallest gestures carry the greatest weight, echoing far beyond the screen, into the hearts of millions who still believe in the quiet magic of real human connection. Fans noticed something else too. Even when cameras stopped rolling, Yongyang's eyes never left Dilraba. Behind-the-scenes footage showed him watching her as she laughed with crew members, fixing her mic or adjusting her hair. He wasn't performing. He was present. A director who worked with both once said, "Some chemistry can be created in editing, but theirs? You just had to step on set. It was already there." In a world of scripted drama, sometimes the unscripted moments are the most powerful. Maybe it's just admiration between two talented actors, or maybe it's something deeper. Either way, fans across the globe now wait, hoping that one day, this visual couple becomes a real-life love story. Because when someone says, "I love your eyes," but looks at you like you're their whole world, you don't forget that. Speech balloon, what do you think? Is this just friendly admiration, or the beginning of something real? Comment your thoughts below. We love reading what you have to say. Sparkling heart if this story touched your heart. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Update X24H for more feel-good, emotional stories from around the world of entertainment. Thank you for watching, and remember, the truth sometimes hides in the smallest glances.